How does one go to the library to plan an escape from college? I thought you just don't go to class and you leave. So,
That's probably the traditional route.
yeah.
But as you kind of laid out, I'm not quite the traditional person. And so for me, books were always my friends. And I figured I could figure it out in the library.
Okay.
So when I went in, I wasn't expecting to find stories of my ancestors who had achieved in spite of the obstacles.
Were you looking for something that was going to lead you down the path of, okay, this is what successful people do who leave college, or you just didn't know and that was just your safe place?
I had no idea. It was a quiet place away from my roommates who would have kept giving me this.
Okay.
And it allowed me really to take stock of who I was, what I wanted to be. I was assuming that I'd go in there and find some career stuff on going into the military or whatever. In fact, I joined the National Guard for a little while.
Wow.
And I respect the people that served. I was a mortar gunner. And I didn't see a lot of future in that for me. Ended up writing a 60-year plan while I was at Virginia Tech. So after that experience, I wrote this plan and I based it on the life of successful people. So I went back to the library and wrote and looked up kind of this Dick Parsons, Mary Ann Spraggins, Ron Brown, Vernon Jordan, and I isolated the common denominators of their success. All of them had law degrees, so that's why I went to law school.
Okay.
All of them worked in the Northeast at some point, so that's why I went to New York. And before you know it, as you get more mature or more interest, then you add your own scaffolding. So when I talk to young people today, I tell them, look, the blueprint is to model a life that you respect and then add your scaffolding as you get more mature, more interest, more understanding. But as you're growing, because we all have to grow, we don't start here. We start, crawling, walking, running. And so there are steps. And life is full of these steps. In fact, what I tell people often when I have a large audience is that in life there are mirrors and windows. And so mirrors are particularly important when you're young. Do you see yourself reflected in the images that you consume in magazines or books, on TV, on film? And if you see this healthy set of people that you relate to that look like you begin to understand or appreciate how you fit in the world, how you exist in the world, what you can do in the world. And then windows are you looking out through somebody else's experience and lens. And as human beings, you realize you can do those things too, especially if your mirrors are healthy. But a person who doesn't have healthy instances of figuring out who they are, when they get in these big places, president of this or these big jobs, an imposter syndrome can set in because they're not used to seeing themselves in those places. And so what I try to do with my books, my cinema, is to make sure that young men and women of all stripes see themselves in righteous roles, in winning roles, as strong protagonists, as leaders. And the science of this is that when human beings can identify with the characters in a book or on film or TV, they are 3 to 10 times more likely to believe that they can do it too. That's the power of examples. And I wanted to be one of those positive examples for my community, for my world. And not just kids that look like me, but for everybody.
Everyone.
Because at some point, we have to embrace our humanity. And we are all God's creations and part of the human family. And so anybody's story or anything a human being has done, if I'm willing to do the work, I can do it too.